Have you heard of this show called Horseland? If you haven't, I'll be glad to tell you about it. Horseland is a show about a few preteens named Sarah, Molly, Alma, Chloe, and Zoe and Bailey who have their own horses and go through some life situations. I have been revisiting the show since Christmas Day because one of the characters I like the most was Sarah Whitney. However, today you're probably going to hear about a lost episode I've seen recently. The episode traumatized me to the point where I wasn't able to sleep for a night. I was home watching The Fox and the Hound on VHS. During the bear fight scene, my dad knocked on my door and then he entered. He then told me that he knew about my interests in Horseland and handed me a DVD. It was a DVD of the complete series. I thanked my dad for the gift and he closed the door on his way out. I took a look at the DVD and apparently there was something I hadn't noticed before. Near the bottom was a blue circle that said, Disc 1 includes a never-before-seen episode. I got interested in seeing the episode, so I inserted the Disc 1 into my PlayStation 4 and sat back. The DVD opening overall was normal, including the previews that played. So far this DVD seemed normal, as it cut straight to the menu. I select play and sat through the first few episodes of Disc 1. All of them were really good except for this episode though. Just like some of the other Lost Episode DVDs, this next episode had a warning. This episode of Horseland was made by a man named Keith 30acre before he was fired from Cookie Jar Entertainment in 2007. Due to the horrifying nature you're about to see, it is strictly advised that children should not view this. Viewer discretion as advised. Here we go again, I muttered. The intro came on and it was completely normal. It then showed what would normally happen in today's episode. It looked like Sarah was watching over a house for a few days, but someone has broken into the house. The title of the episode was House Sitting. The episode started with Sarah and her horse Scarlet doing some training. As soon as the training was finished, Sarah took Scarlet back to her stall. Meanwhile, Molly was having a discussion with Chloe and Zoe about she and her family going on a vacation for spring break. Just then, Sarah greeted the three people with a friendly hello. She then told Molly that she heard what she said and had been dreaming about house sitting for a friend of hers. House sit? What does that mean? Molly asked. Suddenly Will came by and said, House sitting is where you stay and look after a house while its owner's away. One of my friends house sitted before and they got paid $200. Oh, I see. Well, of course you can house sit. But first I'll have to talk to my dad and see if it's okay, Molly said, while talking to Sarah. Sarah then went over to Scarlet's stall and gave her some carrots and water. During the process, Molly walked over to Sarah and said, My dad responded, he approves of you looking after the house. Sweet. When you guys are leaving? Sarah asked. Tomorrow afternoon. See you then, Molly replied. The time title card appeared and it said, The next day. Sarah was on the bus, presumably on her way to Molly's house. She eventually arrived at her place and saw Molly and her family packing. Hello, Mr. Washington, Sarah said, and just got in some more information. Washington was the last name of Molly. Ah, Sarah, good to see you. Welcome, Mr. Washington said. So, will I be getting paid for the days after I look after your house, sir? Sarah asked. Indeed. I'll pay you $130 for the stay, but that will be when we return home, Mr. Washington replied. Well then, would you like to show me around the house before you leave? Sarah asked. Allow me to do that, Molly replied. Molly gave Sarah a tour around the house and showed her some rooms like the kitchen, the bathroom, the living room. She also told Sarah that she'd be sleeping in her bedroom for the stay. And at that moment, Molly's dad walked in and told that there was a room Sarah hasn't seen yet. Apparently it was a room with a computer surveillance system. We hooked this up 2 years ago, just so we can make sure the house is safe from intruders, Mr. Washington said. But what if someone does break in? Does it have an alarm? Sarah asked. Don't panic. If there's an emergency, you can call me or Molly at any time, Mr. Washington replied. It then went back to the farm where Shep, Teeny, and Gora and the horses were. They were having a discussion about Sarah watching over a friend's house for a week. Do you think Sarah will be okay? Scarlet asked. Scarlet, I'm sure she'll be all right. Overall, it's just 1 week and everything will be normal again. Shep said. After their conversation, it then cut back to Sarah, who was watching some TV in the living room. Apparently something I had noticed that it was dark outside, meaning night had come. Sarah had then turned off the TV and said, I could have a shower. She got up and headed upstairs to the bathroom and turned on the shower, and as Sarah put her hand for the shower to check its temperature, but before she could even take a shower, the house phone suddenly rang. She headed back downstairs and went to answer it. When she picked up the phone, Molly proceeded to tell Sarah that there had been some reports of burglars sneaking into people's homes, so probably would be best for Sarah to lock the doors. Sarah told Molly that everything would be alright and she would start locking the doors when she could. After their conversation, Sarah soon went back to her shower. Soon after, she proceeded to lock the doors of the house and then head to bed. Another time title card popped up and it read, 2 hours later. Sarah was already fast asleep. However, the sound of a wood breaking could be heard in the distance. This woke Sarah up and she proceeded to go get the flashlight that was in Molly's room. She then headed downstairs to see what the noise was about. The noises came from the kitchen, and when Sarah went to aim her flashlight at something making the noise, it was no burglar. It looked more like a strange creature, and its form looked entirely different to a monster than an alien. For some reason, the monster was revealed, and the sound effect from The Shining, which was one where Jack Torrance froze and played, and that scared me due to it being unexpected. Sarah wanted to gasp but decided not to. She thought it could trigger the monster to recognize her. She quietly made her way while going up the stairs. She went to the room with the security cameras and then looked at the kitchen. The creature looked like a tall black silhouette with teeth, and it also looked like it had something out of a kid's drawing. Sarah then went back to Molly's room while moving slowly. When she got back to the bedroom, she locked the door, grabbed her cell phone, and got to the closet. Apparently she was going to call Molly about something strange happening in her house. Molly was also asleep until her cell phone rang, which wasn't introduced until season 3 began ringing. Hello, Molly said in a tired tone. Sarah's voice of tone sounded like she was going to cry. She said, Molly, listen to me. While I locked the doors to the house like you said, a creature somehow got in. Mr. Washington would wake up and recognize this. He then would ask Molly who she was talking to. Molly said that it was Sarah, and she allowed her dad to talk to Sarah and asked what was going on. Sarah told the same thing to Molly's dad, and he suggested she call the police. Sarah said okay and hung up at that point. After that, she rang up the police. Sarah decided to describe the situation to the police on the phone. The operator told Sarah to stay on the line and also said that it would be best to hide in the closet until the cops arrived. Sarah was worried that it would take forever for the cops to arrive at Molly's place. What happened next was rather disturbing as hell. Sarah stared at the walls of the closet. She heard the sound of something enter through the bedroom door. She looked through the peephole of the closet and saw it came the creature. During this scene, the operator was asking Sarah if she was okay. It's in the bedroom. Please hurry, Sarah said in a sorrowful whisper tone. I need you to relax and calm down. Do you have a weaponry on you? The operator asked. No, Sarah said, still whimpering. For some reason, the operator stopped speaking as I could hear what sounded like the phone had been hung up. Sarah got terrifyingly worried and tried redialing the number, but they wouldn't answer like they knew Sarah was going to die and the police wouldn't be there too late to save her. In fact, I was also be able to hear the message that plays when a number is being disconnected. The message said, We're sorry. You have tried to reach the number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try to clear your call again. Just then the creature knew what that sound Sarah was making and ran automatically towards the closet door. It then showed a point of view of Sarah trying to get away from the creature. She eventually got out of the room by smacking the creature on the eye. Before Sarah reached downstairs, she suddenly fell to the floor. One thing for sure, the creature would catch up to Sarah and kill her, and I was right. The creature came out of Molly's room and began running towards Sarah. The monster was making a demonic roar while it was approaching Sarah. The screen cut to black with Sarah screaming in agony as she got struck by the creature. There was also a sound of bones being broken off, blood splattering, and flesh being ripped out. I was shocked by this scene, knowing that Sarah would never be saved. It stayed like this for about 7 seconds, before showing Horseland again in the daytime. Chloe and Zoe were having a discussion about how their spring break was going to be during their time at Horseland. "Guys, quick! There's something on the news! Hurry!" Bailey shouted. Alma, Chloe, Zoe, and Will went over to the house to see what was wrong. On the news TV, the news report said, "We're currently receiving a word that a mysterious creature broke into the Washington residence last night and murdered a 12-year-old Sarah Whitney, who was proclaimed by Molly Washington to be house-sitting. We'll have more information on this shortly." Alma gasped when she heard about that Sarah had been murdered. "Oh no, this is terrible," Alma said in a sorrowful tone. "Do you think she might have got taken to the hospital?" Will asked. "Unfortunately, no," Molly said, walking in. "The creature ate her up like a turkey on Thanksgiving or Christmas." It then showed the barn where the horses and the other animals looked rather sad. "I'm really going to miss Sarah," Scarlett said. "Me too. I think house sitting at night isn't what people should do," Teeny said. Before the episode ended, it zoomed out of the barn as I can hear Shep say a quote that was actually from Stephen King. He said, "Monsters are real, and ghosts are real too. They live inside us, and sometimes they win." "Or do they?" Scarlett said, before the screen again cut to black. It then cuts to the credits, but with a big change. Rather than being the instrumental version of the Horseland theme song, instead for the damage, it was for the damaged coda by Blonde Redheaded for some reason. At that point, I got up to take the disc out. I had some thoughts on smashing the disc that had the missing episode on it, but there was a lot of other episodes that the DVD, so I was spared for its life. Later that night, I couldn't sleep, which was so hard to do. So I got on my laptop and wrote an email to the series creator, Andy Hayward, about what I just witnessed. The next day I got a response which said that Keith Verdiaker made the episode after he lost one of his friends to a house-sitting incident a long time ago. I did eventually get some sleep the next night, but I was still having some nightmares about it being Sarah Whitney being killed by the creature. I still enjoy Horseland, and still to this day I will. Just note that it's best to stay away from lost episodes. Well, this was certainly an interesting Horseland creepypasta, but, this was definitely something I was never expected to do, but I decided to go ahead and, read this story. And that, my pretties, was Horseland House Sitting, a Horseland lost episode creepypasta written by Jenny Foxworth, also known as Ashley Armbruster. My final thoughts on this story? Now, this does sound like a little bit of a cliched story and all, and I'm gonna really say that, yeah, I know there was cliches in this story, but the fact that this story was based on Horseland, I still thought the concept looked, pretty interesting for what it is. I mean, yeah, if the cliches were, maybe eased up or something, or there were certain cliches that were not meant to be there, for example, the thoughts of smashing the DVD and fun of, emailing the creator, about the episode. I mean, it looks like that this is like a fan-made episode and the disc had somehow gone in with the box set. Maybe the dad who gave it to the protagonist didn't even look or even bother to see what was the contents on that episode was about. I mean, what I could say, it's a cliche plot line, and there's cliches in this story. I actually found this one to be quite decent. I mean, not the best Horseland creepypasta, but definitely not bad either. I mean, it was an interesting, decent story. I mean, I could honestly see this plot line being the case, like a burglar entering the house. But the creature, killing Sarah afterwards, I mean, it'd be a little bit more realistic if it was a burglar kidnapping her or something. I mean, it would have been more interesting, but not only that, it would have made more sense. But a creature entering the house, I mean, how would a creature enter a house with everything, being locked? I know there was breaking wood, so it's obvious that the creature might have broke down the door or something. And we don't really get a description of what it actually is because, well, it's obviously covered in, a black silhouette. So I guess maybe it might have been maybe a skinwalker, maybe a wendigo. I don't really know, to be honest, but, I think it might be just some creature or something, or maybe it was just an evil spirit of a creature. It's really hard to say. But like I said, you guys can come up with your own theories as to what this creature was, because I'm honestly not sure. But when I read this story, I was surprised that there was no Horseland creepypasta until this one came out, and this one was pretty good. I definitely gotta say, it's a really fun story. I really do recommend reading this story if you haven't. You will not be disappointed. It's a pretty good, fun story. I found it to be really neat. It's a pretty good story. There's definitely a lot of time and effort into the story, and I definitely gonna really say that it's a pretty interesting one for what this is, and I do appreciate the story being pretty good for it is. It's not perfect, no, but it's decent. So, anyways, Ashley Armbruster, the grammar was pretty good for the most part. I did spot, however, maybe a few grammatical errors in the story. Like, I probably maybe spot a few grammatical errors. I only spotted like maybe a couple grammatical errors in the story. Like, maybe there was just a few. But despite that, it's still a pretty fun story. And the grammar was pretty readable. The ending of it could have been maybe explained more. But I know it did explain it was fan-made after his friend got lost or got killed during house sitting or something. But maybe a little bit of backstory on why he created it due to that. Like, was it affecting his mental health to the point where the Keith person ended up, making the episode and decided to have picture this but with Horseland characters or something? It would honestly help out a lot more. But it honestly still is a pretty good one. It's a decent Horseland story. Yeah, I know there's cliches in there, but like I said, I found it to be a decent Horseland creepypasta because gonna say right now, I used to watch Horseland as a kid. I used to watch it so much as a kid. It's still a fun story. I found it to be good. It's amazing. It's pretty good for what it is. However, I'm gonna have to rewatch this show, even though I haven't seen this show in years. I know there's full episodes of it on YouTube, so you guys can go and watch it if you want to. There's full episodes of it on YouTube, so everybody can go watch it if they like. But yeah, the screenshots that were included in the story, I only included a few of them, but the ones I like. The editing was pretty good with the photos and that. I know they're photoshopped and all, but it's still pretty interesting, especially that they fit well with the story. And it's pretty good for what it is. The story's not perfect. There was some issues, but other than that, I could definitely say it's still a pretty good story. Now, yeah, anyways, with that being the case and with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say right now that this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is my own personal thoughts. So Ashley Armbruster or Jenny Foxworth, awesome job with this story. This was awesome. I enjoyed it. I thought this story was pretty good. It's a good concept and all. I really enjoyed it. So pardon me about that. I don't know what's going on with me today. I guess I'm kind of a little tired, but anyways, I'm gonna give this story an 8 out of 10. It was a decent story. I know it was cliched, but it was still a decent story. It was pretty good. Not perfect, but definitely not bad either. I could definitely say. Yeah, I know this is a pretty decent creepypasta in my opinion. I know there's cliches in it, but like I'm going to say, this is just my own opinion. If you happen to disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. But like I said, it's a decent pasta. I do want to say right now, I do tend to repeat myself. But, with all that aside, it's a pretty interesting Horseland creepypasta. And if you do make more of these, Jenny Foxworth, feel free to send them in to me so I can, take a look at them. So anyways, with that being said, what did you guys personally think of this story? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me now what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're new to my channel, feel free to leave this video a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here. And I'll see you all next time.